hat theory, one that went from a fun observation to an off-script comment and a realization that led to an entire new discovery that I didn't think anyone has realized yet. Nintendo has been playing 5D chess with multiverse and time travel, and we just realized there was a second board. Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about a theory that I've had cooking up for a while now. But because of a random off-script comment I had made in another video, link in description, we are going to be diving into the deep end. Let's get started. Before we drop off into the depths, let's talk about the base of the hat theory. It's about Link's hat. It's in the thumbnail, it's very much just about Link's hat. Let's get our basics covered. First, we are going to be establishing what each of the Link's hats look like. Starting with Skyward Sword. Link's hat is very much green. The rim of the hat is the important part. It's the same color of green as the rest of it. Heading over to Minish Cap, Link's hat is also a solid green, and because Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures has the same sprites, we can say that they also have a solid green hat. Ocarina of Time also has the solid green hat. The rim of said hat is again the same color as the rest of it. Majora's Mask in the Child timeline actually follows this. Because it was using the same sprites as Ocarina of Time, it continues the solid green hat. And lo and behold, the last of the Child Timeline's games, Twilight Princess, also has this solid green hat. This shows that these are all in the same timeline. Now in the adult timeline, looking at Wind Waker Link's design, it looks as if he doesn't have any extra details, but in game, he actually has a dark green stripe on his hat. Hopping into Phantom Hourglass, this is in fact the same Link. He also has a dark green stripe in his hat, and Spirit Tracks, using the same models as Phantom Hourglass, also has Link with his dark green stripe in his hat. These all show that these games are in the adult timeline. Lastly, we have the Downfall timeline, and it's well known for its golden stripe on Link's hat. In A Link to the Past it has it, so does the Oracle games and the original Link's Awakening NDX. The next Link to show up is in A Link Between Worlds, and his hat, of course, has the golden stripe on it. As well as in Triforce Heroes, all three of the Links all have this golden stripe. Jumping to Zelda 1 and 2, of course the original games, has Link with his classic and iconic golden stripe on his hat. These show that these games and Links are in the Downfall timeline. But if you noticed, I didn't mention Echoes of Wisdom. See, the thing that got me thinking about the fact that the Downfall timeline's golden striped hat was so distinct is the fact that it's next to all these other green hats. And we see very clearly that each timeline has its own type of hat that shows exactly where we are. Dark green stripe, you're in the adult timeline. No stripe, well, you're either at the beginning before the split or in the child timeline. Golden stripe, Downfall timeline all the way. Light green stripe, well, light green stripe. We haven't seen any of those. Well, in Breath of the Wild, when you complete all of the shrines in the base game, you can unlock the Tunic of the Wild, which has a very distinct light green stripe on its hat. And because Tears of the Kingdom has the same assets, it also has this light green striped hat. And in the official Zelda timeline, these two games were given their own new timeline. So, we can very much say that if Link has a light green stripe on his hat, then he has to be in this new timeline. Which is really interesting because in Echoes of Wisdom, when Link reveals his face, and most importantly his hat, in an extremely dramatic way, it shows us his own light green striped hat. Which is interesting because we know he has a golden striped hat in his house as a nod to the Downfall timeline. Along with how this map is set up, it's almost identical to A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, but with very telling differences, and the Triforce itself being an unknown variable. Echoes of Wisdom doesn't really make sense in the Downfall timeline's lore, which just brings up the question of, hey, a Hylian royal family, how in the name of demise did you lose the Triforce? Just asking for a friend. But it would make more sense if it was either after Zelda 2, if Link were to wish for the Triforce to be unknown, or in the new timeline, where they haven't shown anyone else use the Triforce yet, if at all. Which is really cool because it would make our all-powerful, wish-granting Dorito the level of godhood we all know it is, and not just be a MacGuffin that appears in every game in this new timeline. It's a maybe at best if it were to show up, but Echoes of Wisdom shows that it's still there. Now, to jump back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, the off-script and offhanded comments I had made in a previous Zelda theory video, link in description. But also, it's really cool to see reimaginings of the events of the first 3 Zelda games, because that's essentially what they did. And it's really cool to see how they could have pulled it from different medias. A reimagining. Breath of the Wild was heavily inspired by Zelda 1, while Tears of the Kingdom, being a sequel, continues the same Link's adventure like in Zelda 2, but it brings up the Imprisoning War, which was the same name of another war that had happened in Zelda 3. And lastly, Echoes of Wisdom uses the same exact map as Zelda 3. They have been recreating the first 3 Zelda games right under our noses. It's a soft reboot and a remake of the lore throughout the series. And there's one last piece of this puzzle that some of our observant viewers have probably been yelling about for the past few minutes. And that's the fact that in Echoes of Wisdom, Link's model is the same exact model as the Link's Awakening remake model of Link. See, the original Link's Awakening actually does show the golden stripe in Link's hat, even in the animated opening and ending, but the remake shows his hat have a light green stripe on it. When my friend Dylan and I had been playing through Link's Awakening, we had to keep referring to the remake for hints when we got stuck, because we couldn't find the original as a walkthrough. But looking at the remake's version of the walkthrough, they were almost always different and not always correct. This is because they are different versions of the game, but they are different dreams. And these 2 adventures are not identical, which could mean the original is from the Downfall timeline, following the hero of legend, while the remake is in the new timeline, following an unknown hero. And I propose we call this hero the Hero of Dreams, because that's all we know about him. I mean, we could also say that he's the same Link as Echoes of Wisdom, but we don't know. Each Link does actually have a distinct style to each of their hairs and clothing, and they quite literally have the same model. And using the hat theory alone, we can confirm that he is not the hero of legend, so they could be the same guy. And lastly, for these 2 timelines, I propose we call the original one the Triforce timeline because of how important it is throughout the timeline story and lore, and this new one because there's only 4 games in it so far, and the fact that we don't know what the main theme of it is just yet, we should call it the Wild Timeline. If you have any better ideas for the name of this new timeline, please tell me in the description below. But that will be it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed this fun little theory. And if I confused anybody throughout this, the TLDR is basically Link's hat shows what timeline he is in, which led to a discovery of a totally new timeline and a totally new Link. We are also going to jump right into the secret ending here as I ramble. I'm redesigning our Hero of Dreams as if he were his own character, because people love to redesign the Links all the time. Which also kind of brings up the question, they already remade the first 4 Zelda games, which makes me think that they'll probably head over and do the 5th Zelda game that had come out, which, if you didn't know, is Ocarina of Time. So a tiny little baby theory here at the end as a second little secret thing is that I think they're going to remake Ocarina of Time next, but not as like a Ocarina of Time remake, but like inspired by Ocarina of Time. Like how Breath of the Wild is inspired by Zelda 1. It's gonna be a lot of fun with this new timeline. But yeah, that's it. And we aren't gonna have a vote for today because I'm kind of jumping the gun on this because I had this theory made, and the more I thought about it, the more I just wanted this video to get out, and I didn't want to like rely on the vote too much. I'm sorry, it's a Lace original theory. I'm sorry, we're doing it early. It's coming out on Saturday, if I get it done by then. Anyways, here's our boy. Look at him, he's adorable. I haven't drawn him yet because I'm recording beforehand. Alrighty, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Bye!
Hello, sorry, are you guys ready for a third secret ending? I have so many thoughts about this new timeline, because Demise isn't confirmed to be in this new timeline, which means that Ganon doesn't have Demise's hatred, which means he's just like that. Which also means, what is that? What is that? What even is that? That's terrifying! There's also the fact that we've never seen Hylia before in this new timeline. We don't know if Zelda has the goddess's blood, because she got her sealing powers from Rauru and her time powers from Sonia. So there's no, thing that she got from Hylia that we know of. We don't know if the hero spirit is a thing either. We also don't know the origin of the Master Sword in this new timeline. It's only been used once. The Triforce has only been used once. There's so much we don't know, and it's amazing because we can theorize now that we know that these 4 games are connected. There's also the fact that Nintendo doesn't have to feel like they're being held down by their old storylines. They can do whatever they want in this new timeline because there's no explanation for everything. And for those who loved the old storylines, don't need to feel like they're being ignored in this new era, because their storylines are still intact. Which is the exact reason why I felt like this version of the timeline, the one where everything is put into one line of time, just made me feel sad, because it made me see that all of the storylines that I enjoyed didn't matter. It all got cut off right when everything got merged together, where it was completely ignored and rewritten in Echoes of Wisdom. But with this new timeline, there's so much more that we can do with that. There's so much more lore going on here that we don't know yet. So when the next game comes out, it'll probably add to this timeline and add to this new lore, which is so exciting, and it gives me so much hope for the future of the series. And it won't change and mess up the old lore that I loved so much. I cannot wait to see what they do next. The dungeons still suck though.